For the last couple of years, LG's G Pro line has been LG's answer to the Samsung Galaxy Note phablets. Unlike Samsung's Notes, however, LG's G Pro phones just didn't seem to strike a chord with consumers. Perhaps it was the lack of distinguishing features. Maybe simply having an extra large display was no longer enough to secure the win in the phablet category. Maybe LG needed to come up with its own S Pen kind of feature that would ultimately make its device stand out from the hordes of Note wannabes. You know what? LG might have come up with just that. This is the new LG V10. It's pretty much a replacement for the G Pro. This is, unmistakably, the phablet in LG's lineup. It bears some typical design traits, like the minimal top and bottom bezels, as well as the power and volume buttons situated on the rear. But it's by no means a larger version of the G4. But the V10's exterior is what we call a mixed bag. It's thoughtfully shaped, good looking even, but the materials and colors that finish off the package are rather bland. Why the elegant stainless steel bars? And why the exquisite circle of metal around the camera, when you're then going to put a paper-thin piece of plastic to cover the whole bag, complete with questionable appearance and comfort qualities? Those stainless steel bars, though, they are an idea that LG needs to stick with. LG is staying true to its rear keys, and that's okay, because getting used to their offbeat positioning isn't so difficult. What we can get used to, however, is the unpleasant wobbliness of the power button, which now doubles as a fingerprint scanner. The V10 is a big phone with a big screen, 5.7 inches big. The Quad HD LCD screen is razor sharp and it tends to look catchy, but in reality, its contrast is a bit too high and its color balance is quite off. Still, outside visibility is good enough, while reading in the dark shouldn't hurt your eyes, thanks to the satisfying minimum brightness level. These days, everyone's looking to have some sort of gimmick. Samsung's Galaxy Note has the S Pen, Apple's iPhone 6s Plus has live photos, and HTC used to put two rear cameras in its phones. Now LG has one in the V10 as well, a secondary screen. It's a short LCD panel strip that's fitted right above the main display. The second display is always on. Even when the phone is sleeping, it continues to work, displaying the time and date, as well as any notifications that may arrive. It's a fun and relatively useful concept, but also one that feels severely compromised. When the phone is in sleep, the secondary display is so dim it's hardly visible with the phone lying on the table, not least because LCD screens lose brightness and contrast when looked from an angle. So, LG's decision to use an LCD panel for the second screen is perplexing, to say the least. It also makes for an awkward appearance in the dark, when the dedicated and not so even backlight becomes evident. It's not a big issue, but one that takes away from the V10's already limited stock of elegance points. The LG made Android 5.1 software running on the V10 is incredibly flexible, customizable, versatile, powerful even. In short, it's a mess. It looks like LG wants to let you tweak each and every single aspect of the user interface. At first, this may be a fun game to play, but it quickly gets tiring and tedious. Giving the user such levels of overwhelming customization has become LG's way of escaping responsibility for its design decisions. You don't like the size of the on-screen keyboard? Well, simply change it. Not a fan of the default sounds for calls and notifications? Choose some others then. The email app isn't formatted cleanly? There's got to be a few options in there that will let you tweak things a bit. The thing is, the default state of the LG V10 software isn't particularly smart or tasteful. The portrait keyboard is tolerable, but the landscape one's default design and positioning are terrible. The list of keyboard settings is like an endless labyrinth. They never end. Sooner or later, you want to just hit the home button and escape from all the horror of it. At least it has a swipe type input built in, which works well. There are some other nuisances we can talk about, like the amateurish look of the email app, or the extremely poor choice of wallpapers the V10 offers, but we'll rather not. The main takeaway as far as LG's software experience goes is that more often than not, you can get it to act well enough, but it will take time and effort on the user's side. This doesn't necessarily apply to the way the secondary screen functions. It is designed to complement whatever is on screen with extra functionality or quick shortcuts to various other features, which is cool. You can hold a bunch of things there, like some of your favorite contacts or favorite apps, or next calendar event. But our favorite function is the recent apps pane. With it, it's like you constantly have an app switcher on hand. During the time we spent with the V10, we found the secondary screen to be a handy little tool. However, we aren't sure if the added functionality warrants the need for an additional display. 5.7 inches are a lot of screen space, so maybe LG should have worked on utilizing it in a smarter way with its software rather than put a second screen. On a positive note, the V10 is fast, easily LG's fastest Android phone to date. The LG G4 had a phenomenal camera that could easily go toe-to-toe with the best of Samsung or Apple. Equipped with a sensor of the same 16-megapixel resolution, we expected the LG V10 to perform in a similarly great manner. It did not disappoint. The feature-rich camera app is full of settings, and what's even better, it proved to be very easy to use. Unfortunately, it appeared to be quite unstable during our testing, rendering the touchscreen unresponsive on a number of occasions. Still, images taken with the V10 are great. They are very realistic, with accurate white balance and good exposure levels. You also need to try really hard to come up with a blurred photo, as the phone does a great job at image focus and sharpness. Taking pictures in dimmer indoor environments increases the risk of ending up with a slightly hazy shot, but with some careful positioning, this problem should be easy to avoid. Meanwhile, the front-facing cameras are glorious, producing deep, colorful, nicely detailed portraits. Watch out for the beautify effect though, as it is engaged by default. There are two front-facing cameras, one that's used for near-field, single-person selfies, and another that has a wider lens for taking group selfies. It's a peculiar solution by LG, but it works. The LG V10 has manual video recording mode. It's handled similarly to the still image manual mode. A similarly laid out interface gives you access to a number of settings to change, such as white balance, focus, ISO, and shutter speed. Sadly, overall video quality is decent, but nothing impressive. 1920 by 1080p footage recorded with OIS suffers from severe jello effect, which is very prominent when there's camera movement. This issue isn't present when recording with the steady mode engaged, which uses both optical and software stabilization. Detail level isn't too good and color balance is also a bit off. Shooting in 4K, detail level is much better, but colors stay somewhat off, while the jello effect is once again noticeable, as it only works with optical stabilization. LG says the V10 should be great for music, as it has a 32-bit hi-fi digital to analog converter. This surely is a fancy feature, but one that probably doesn't ring any bells. That's because high-resolution music with 32-bit depth is actually next to impossible to find. No music record sold offline or online comes at such bit depth. And that includes iTunes, Google Play Music, Apple Music, Spotify, or even the one streaming service that's famous for its lossless content, Tidal. If you don't happen to be an extreme audiophile, you don't really need to bother your mind with this feature. Still, the audio chip inside the V10 remains a quality one, which is good to have even if you're going to be using it mostly for standard compressed audio. The loudspeaker is pretty decent, it's strong and doesn't sound too bad. It could use a bit of brilliance in the high range, but all in all it's good. The Quad B3 earphones that come with the LG V10 are also satisfying. At first they may sound somewhat shallow, but once you stick them really tight into your ears, admittedly not the most pleasant of sensations, they show their good side, with a tight punch and balanced, likable audio reproduction. When it comes to battery life, the LG V10 tends to be an average performer. It's equipped with a 3000 mAh battery, same as the Galaxy Note 5, but doesn't impress much. It can easily handle a day and a half of medium usage, but do not expect wonders from it. Our battery test corroborates our battery life observations. The V10 was fully discharged after the unimpressive 5 hours and 51 minutes. The Snapdragon 808 chipset has proven to be efficient enough, but we feel screen-on time is drawing quite a bit of power from the battery. However, the V10 does have one big advantage in this department. The battery is removable. Even if you don't go the spare battery route, the V10 won't be out of the game for too long. It's super quick to charge its battery. Using the stock charger, the juice pack went from 0 to 100% in the astonishing 65 minutes. The battle for the phablet crown continues. Samsung and Apple have already secured the largest chunk of the market to them, but LG seems committed to becoming a major force in the extra-large segment as well. The G Pro didn't quite work out as planned, but the V10 is a new beginning for the company's ambitions. It's loaded with features. It literally doubles the screen and the front-facing cameras. It has it all, even an IR blaster, a replaceable battery and a micro SD card slot. Features that its rival Samsung recently left behind. Unlike Samsung, however, LG seems to be firmly confident that more is most certainly better. And for some people, it most certainly is. There are undeniable benefits in having a spec sheet as lengthy as the household chores list your partner unexpectedly hands you on a Saturday morning. But the question we should always keep asking is this: are all these features integrated wisely, or are they confusing, compromising the experience? Furthermore, do they work as advertised? To these questions, the answer is rarely a firm yes with the V10. There are certain areas where it excels, such as performance and still image quality, but it tends to falter in others, like display quality, video recording, and general user experience. The unstable camera app, inaccurate auto brightness function, and inefficient app design are just some of the issues that we encountered. With LG V10, we feel it's a bit more of a show than substance. It's suitable for techies, but not so much for consumers who wanted to just work. Thank you for watching PhoneArena's video review of the LG V10. If you'd like to learn more about it, just check us out at PhoneArena.com.